says, what's the problem? Who's at fault here? I said, you, Red. So I'm thinking, well, what have I done? Okay, we don't know how to put this to you, but will you stop looking at her ass? And I said, I ain't looking at her ass. And to a man, about 40 people all said, yes, you are. And I'm thinking, oh, man, really?
So welcome to the latest Cognitas Global podcast with me, Lawrie Day. Well, what can I say? I've got a great treat today, and I should really do the introduction to the podcast by doing this, because I want to welcome a very interesting guest, Mr. Red Pepper.
How you doing?
What can I say about this gentleman?
Be nice. Just be nice.
He was born in Barbados. 10 months old, he went to California and then came to the UK, 15 years of age. He's been a security man, he's worked at McDonald's, he's been an underground train driver, he's been a hog carrier, and he's been a Hollywood voice actor for the latter part of his career. And that's what I want to talk about today. Really, Red, your journey, really right from the beginning, because the purpose of the podcast is about really helping people understand that it's not necessary that you've got to go to university to succeed in life. You can attend the University of Life and the School of Hard Knocks.
Indeed.
So where did it all begin for you?
Well, to be honest with you, I got into the career that I'm into now totally by accident. But let's go back. When I was a kid, I was a young kid. I had no inclination that I would ever get into broadcasting or television or radio or nothing like that. All I heard from the get-go was Dad saying to me, son, I want you to be a lawyer. I want you to be a police officer. I want you to act dignified. I want you to be approachable. I want you to be a good citizen. I want you to not be stereotypical black. I want you to be somebody. From a kid, my dad used to always pump that into me. Son, put on a shirt. Son, put on a tie. Son, put on a double-breasted jacket. Son, do not grow your hair long. Funny enough, I did actually, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, that's what I got. So growing up, I always had instilled into me to do right. The ASA, appearance, speech, and attitude. That's all my dad ever preached. ASA, appearance, speech, and attitude. If you don't have the appearance, have the speech. If you don't have the speech, have the appearance. If you don't have the appearance and the speech, have the attitude. Well, that's how my dad was. He said, always carry those around with you. At least one or two of them in your locker every day. So I grew up with that mentality.
So it sounds like your dad had a tremendous ethic. I guess similar to my dad, very much the same.
Yeah.
When I was in my career, I wore a suit for 30 years as a detective. Yeah. It was always about the appearance that you gave. Walking up the drive to the burglary victim, didn't want to see who they thought was the person that just burgled their house. So, what did your dad do for a living?
My dad was a criminal lawyer. Yeah, so he wanted the best for me. He'd had a few hard knocks as well. He'd been through all the nonsense before he became who he was. And he was very dignified. He was well respected and well known. A small story about my father, going sidetrack for a minute. I went to Barbados for the first time in donkey's years in 1992. And I hadn't been back there since I was a kid. And I wanted to see where I was born. And I was born in a place called Farm Road in St. Philip, which is the top of the island. Now, the island is only 21 miles north to south, 14 and a half miles wide. So I went up to St. Peter, not St. Philip, St. Peter, and I found Farm Road. And as I'm approaching the road, or the vicinity where I was born, this old man, he had no teeth in his head. I think he had one tooth. Sitting down, when the spiky silver hair is coming through, he's old. I think he was 102. I didn't know at the time until he told me. 102 years old. And he had something wrong with his eyes. And he's drinking a beer, sitting on the sidewalk, or the pavement, you say here. Sitting down, and he said, Where? Green? Because my proper name is Richardson Ivan Green.
Uh-huh.
And he said, Green? And I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm thinking, who are you talking to? I don't know you. He said, well, your father named Noah? Your father was an officer in the police force? And I'm thinking, yeah, And I don't know him from Adam. First time I've been there. And he knew me simply from the way I walked.
Really?
And he says, I know your father. And then he called Sandy Euclid. He started to call everybody. Everybody came down. And this big old lady, you know, like the lady in Tom and Jerry, the lady you always saw the apron.
Thomas?
Yeah. And she came out of the house and she went, oh God, I born you. She was a lady who delivered me.
Really?
Amazing.
That must have been quite an emotional thing for you.
I'll tell you, tears streamed. I don't know what happened. That moment, it was like, just, and that was just an amazing moment. And that was simply because people knew my father and how upstanding he was, et cetera, et cetera. And I spent about an hour there. And then I said, listen, I've got to go. And you ain't going no place. And we sat down and they cooked, and we talked about this, that, and the other, right until about midnight. Wow. And we spent the whole day in somebody's strange house.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And when she said to me, you was born right there, and she pointed to the window where I was born, I just lost it. Very emotional.
So I guess your dad was a tremendous inspiration in your life.
He was. He had his faults like everybody else, but he was a good man. He had logic. He had a lot of logic. He says, don't follow. Do not follow. Observe. Learn. Be enlightened. And when you are enlightened, do something with that enlightenment. That's what he said to me. And he stuck with it. He says, don't you ever forget who you are.
So I'm assuming your dad's not with us anymore?
No. He's upstairs probably preaching to the Archangel Gabriel and telling everybody how life is. And they don't know nothing about, my dad's cool. He's up there.
So what do you think then, like from those days to, and we'll come on to the story about you being the man of, appearing in your cinema next week. I won't do as good as you, of course. But what do you think you would have said now, looking down, seeing your success in your career?
My father looking down would say, he'd probably say, all right, okay. That's how he was. You're doing right.
You think he'll forgive you for not being a lawyer?
No, I don't think he'd ever do that because he was they're doing what? Voiceovers? What is a voiceover? Damn fool. He was like that. And he'd be really cursing me for answering to the name of Red Pepper. He was very proud about the name Richardson Ivan Green. It was his name. And I think the very first time somebody came around to my house, or his house, my home, and said, excuse me, is Red there? And he literally said, who? And he turned around, does anybody called Red live here? And there's me in the corner like going, yeah, that's me, Dad. Kind of fool are you? And he went into one, but the name stuck.
So let's put that on the bed then. Where did it originate, the name Red Pepper?
Well, red, in the black community, we got all shades of skin. We got light skin, we got dark skin, we got yellow, we got high yellow, we got red, we got light, we got mixed. This is what, in the black community, is the way of describing. White folks would just say, oh, that black guy. And within the black community, we got so many different shades going, it's unbelievable. So my skin complexion is red to the black community. Yeah. That tall red-skinned boy, that tall red-skinned man, he yellow. So they call it yellow skin. And that originates from slavery because back in the day, many hundreds of years ago, the slave masters used to rape the slaves. And that's how, so I got Scottish in my blood. And that's how I became this complexion. But that's history. So, but the red came because somebody said, we want you on the billboard because I also DJ. And I used to DJ in the nightclubs before I took up radio. And I went into to do this gig, and this guy says, "You're really, really good. We want you on our set. Come and do our set with us. What's your name?" And I said, "Well, my name is Richardson Green." What? No, we can't have that. We got to have, names like Shaggy, Buju Banton, Sting, some proper catchy names. And they got all these names on the poster. They're not going to put Richardson Green. It sounds like the owner of the club or something.
Red Green even doesn't sound good.
And they couldn't get it. So they call him Red Skin Man. Red, call him Red. And I said, call me what you like. Red, and that hot voice, Red Pepper. And I says, yeah, go ahead. So in the billboards, it looked great when you're doing DJing and all the rest of it. But on your passport, it doesn't. So I never did change it.
Yeah, that's tricky, isn't it? Two names.
So just about some DJs decided to call me Red, and it stuck.
So getting back to the inspiration thing, do your kids see you as an inspiration in the way that you think you saw your father as an inspiration?
I'll tell you.
Is that a trick question?
I'll tell you, yes. They probably says, shit, no. Yeah, well, they secretly appreciate me. They secretly appreciate me. 9 times out of 10, they will go against why I don't tell them to do anything. I advise them. I encourage them, but I don't tell them. And they will secretly pick up on stuff that I told them, and they'll do it. And then they'll take the credit for it, and they'll say, yeah, Dad, I was doing this and I was doing that. And I'm thinking, yeah, what I told you to do. And they say, well, no, I did it my way, isn't it? And I'm thinking, yeah. But they're proud of me. They're proud of me.
I guess it'd be like, not till probably we're both gone. We're a similar age as well, aren't we? I think we share a birthday a day apart. But then perhaps our kids would talk about the true inspiration that we are. We'd like to think that. I guess so.
Eventually they do. Yeah. I'm sure they do. They do it in their actions, not their words.
So I know you went to school in Catford. You lived in South London. How did you find that growing up, coming across the States at 15?
Well, I like to speak about the positives. There were a lot of negatives,
of course,
in my life socially at that time. You got to appreciate in the 70s in the UK, we can't hide away from it. There was a lot of racism and National Front and black people get out and blah, blah, blah. So I went through all of that. But I also had this passion for football. I also had this passion to go outside and play with everybody. I didn't care if they're white, black, yellow, whatever. And I managed to find a group of people, and the people that I hung out with, they didn't have none of that racism in there. But in the streets, walking from A to B, from town to town, I encountered that. But I did not let it define me. I just said, you know what? It's not my problem. It's their problem. And that's how I was. My dad used to always say to me, words can't kill you, son. Act and walk tall, walk tall, walk tall, walk tall. Do not let anyone define who you are. You are in control of the way you respond. You are in control. Someone can say the worst thing to you, and you can either flick it off or you can get, come on. And there was a few times when I said, come on. Sure. And I knocked a few down, but I got the hell beat out of me. But hey, that's life. And we either learn from it or we stagnate and be the victim.
How do you compare the generation when we were growing up to the generation of kids nowadays that are forging their way into careers or not, as the case may be? Well,
it's a bit of a domino effect because a lot of folks from my generation are still playing the victim. They're still saying, if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for that, you guys don't know how hard it was for us, blah, 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 blah. The new generation are totally different kettle of fish. They integrate a lot more than we did back in the day, which was forced upon a lot of us because around the whole world you had apartheid and this, that, and the other. So it was a really kind of stink-cold atmosphere back in the 70s. In some quarters. But the new generation, they want everything now. They don't want to graft for it. They don't want it. They want everything given to them. Not every one of them, but generally, I'd say everybody's got their iPhone or mobile device of their choice. If you say, Red, what's 15 times 7 divided by 6.3? I'd have to get my paper out and I have to put my divide and I have to work it out. Pen and paper, bam, there's your answer. Now, hey, Google, what is 15 times 75 divided by 3? You got your answer. What's the capital of Honolulu? What's the capital of whatever? Everything at your fingertips. Everything is fast. You got music now. The kids love certain artists. And I'll say to my son, any one of my sons, I'll say, son, you love Jay-Z, for instance. You love whoever. Yeah, got all his records. Did you buy them? No. We download them for free. So the artists are putting the ticket prices up because they're not selling the albums. And the new generation, generally, not just in music, but they want everything now. To don't want to pick up a pen, don't want to text in longhand. They don't want to do anything. Everything is cutting corners, but they want the benefits.
I risk suffering the wrath of my 2 young gentlemen employees behind the camera, and I must say they're good lads. These lads, they're not of that type. But I must say that's one of the problems that I find now. I do some volunteering. I'm an enterprise advisor for 2 schools, and I try and help the schools and those individuals bridge from from school into careers. There are challenges. When I went to school, probably 2 or 3 kids out of the class went to university, but now probably 2 or 3 kids don't go to university.
That's right.
And then you've got this whole thing about coming out in entitlement. But look, let's move on. We can see you mentioned music. Behind us, we have your decks. We'll come on to your love of music and that great radio show that you do at the weekends. But let's just move on a little bit. You go through school, you end up driving underground trains.
Yeah.
Well, any particular ones or any particular line? Or
quite a few lines. I started off on the Bakerloo line. I worked on the Bakerloo, Jubilee, Hammersmith and City Circle line, and that was the 4.
In a deep, dark past, that is.
A long time ago.
When was that? When did you?
I packed that in 1994. I was forced to.
Well, tell the story. I've heard this before. It's a great story.
I was forced to. Long story short, I'll compact this as best I can. Basically, I was, again, hold on to what I was saying earlier about attitude, right? Let's take it back. I woke up, I was doing a number 1 duty, which started at 5:40 in the morning. Got to go into a coal depot and take out a train. So I got up that morning and I was not in the mood to go to work. Got up at 3, everybody's sleeping, everything. I'm thinking, I really don't want this. I don't want this. But I needed to work, raising little kids and everything. So where I lived, I put on my uniform, I went down into the kitchen, drank half a cup of coffee, and I could sit down in my living room by the bay window, and I could hear the bus. It's so quiet outside. I could hear the bus down at the bottom of the hill. So all I got to do is sit in my front room and wait for the bus. Then I could leave the house, step up across the road. My bus stop is there. So I'd come out, get on the bus with all these cleaners, get to work. Cold morning, blah, 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 blah. Not in the mood to go. Fast forward, 11 o'clock in the morning, everything is hunky-dory. I'm going up and down the tracks. I'm on the Bakerloo line. I depart from Piccadilly Circus. I get to Oxford Circus. But as I come into the station, I can see some lights, camera, and some photographers around this lady dressed up as Marilyn Monroe, all the white hair and the white dress. And because the tube train brings the breeze in with it, I'm coming in at 40 miles per hour before I hit the brakes. The breeze is blowing the skirt. I'm getting all the pictures. So as I'm driving, imagine I'm driving past, and I'm thinking, wow. So I look at this lady. I open up the doors. I get on the public address system. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your driver speaking. I'd like to say a special hello to Marilyn Monroe, who just boarded the train. You're looking fantastic. Please, gentlemen, please give up a seat. I put down the PA system. Behind my cab, you're very close to the customers. They can't see me, but I can hear them, and I can hear them go, it's your iPhone. Did you hear his voice? Well, they swore, but I won't swear. Did you hear his voice? He says what Barry walks in. They were going on like that. So I said, no, I just laughed. Anyway, cut a long story short. The crew get off on the next stop to do more filming or whatever they're going to do. She gets out and she gives me a little wave. And I said, give me your number. But she didn't. She gave me a wave, and I was good with that. Get to the next stop, Baker Street. And this dude jumps off of my train, and he starts running towards the cab. He's got on a suit, shirt, and tie, looking very dignified. But he's really running, going for it. And I said, whoa, something's happened on the train. Because we don't have no guard. It's just me. So I pull down the window. I wait for him to get to me, and he says, so camp. He says, you've got a lovely voice. And I said, this is in the peak hours. Peak hours. There's a train 30 seconds behind me waiting to come up, and I'm sitting there. And I says, is that it? I says, thank you, but no. I forget the guy's name, and he says, no, I'm the chief executive. I'm running this television station, blah, blah, blah. I'd love to have your number. You come and do some voiceovers. And at the time, I'm just a regular train driver. Didn't have a clue what a voiceover was. I said, yeah. And I had a phone, one of the long mobile phones, you know. I don't have any contacts. Yeah, I'll take your number. And I'm putting this number in. I'm feeling cock-a-hoot. Took his number. I get to Harrow, Watford, going out to Watford. Get a call from this dude. He says to me, I'd like you to come into the studio and record something. I knew nothing about these fancy studios. I'm just a train driver. Anyway, long story short, following day, pretty much, I got my underground uniform on. I'm traveling to work, but I'm going to go into the studio first before I get to work. I went in, he took a A4 paper, and he says, right, going there. And all these hoity-toity looking people are in the studio. I'm thinking, wow, this place is really cool. This place called Molinaire in Dufour's Place in the back of Carnaby Street. And I'm looking at all the studio. I'm thinking, wow, look at this. Wow, never been in nothing like this before. Whoa, fantastic. I get the A4 paper, put the headphones on, and they're all standing there like, because I can't hear them, just see them through the glass. The movie clip come on. I don't know what movie it was. See the green light. And the first line is, in a world. So this is, in a world. Second green light. We're one man. Blah, 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 whatever it was. And I can see them all behind the glass. And I'm thinking, so I literally said, was that okay? And they press the button. We'll be with you in a minute. One minute. I'm like, all right. Didn't think nothing of it. I was just thinking, this is kind of cool, whatever this is. I like this. Came in, grabbed my hand. And you know when someone shakes your hand too long because he's so happy, and he's like, fantastic, fantastic. We'll call you. And I'm thinking, let go of my hand, fool. But he was just holding on. He said, we'll give you a call. Anyway, long story short, he called me up again, offered me a 1 hour per week contract for double what I was earning on the underground for 48 hours. And I told my ex-wife at the time, I says, this man just offered me how much? She goes, no, you probably got the back word for 60 hours. I said, no, this is sick. Shut up. Anyway, long story short, I started doing the stuff. I tried to keep the both jobs because I kept thinking it's not going to last for long. But I couldn't hold down the jobs. They'd already taken photographs and everything. Next couple of minutes, I had my friend calling me 5 o'clock in the morning. Red, turn on your radio. You're on the radio. I said, what radio? You're on talk radio. You're on LBC. You're on every station. They're talking about you. And I'm thinking, me? Turns out the night before, there was a huge picture of me on the front page of the Evening Standard. Standing like that, gray suit, pictures that I'd taken with the Sci-Fi Channel or whatever for publicity, didn't think nothing of it. I was supposed to be off sick. I'm standing there. From Two Driver to Hollywood. I said, I'm not in Hollywood, but I'm just doing this. And my company, the London Underground, told me, bring your keys in and your uniform and sling your hook. And they told me, get out because you lied to us because I told them that I was off sick, but I was making money.
Well, I guess 2 or 3 minutes ago, people suddenly went, that's the bloke. I've heard him in the cinema. I've heard those tracks and that. But,
coming soon in a world. Yes. One man this year, this fall. I used to do it all.
So where did you learn your craft then? Because did you get any training from there? Or how did you develop?
Nowhere. I mean, I've said it to so many young kids as well. It's you mentioned Hard Knocks. In this industry, as a voice actor, people think you have the voice. But the other part of it, they forget. Voice acting is acting. You have to act as well. So you may have a fantastic voice, but somebody says to you, say, in a world, for instance, which was developed by Don LaFontaine. That's his line. And then every script I got was in a world. And this is, that's Don LaFontaine's line. I'm only reading what they give me. So you tell me, in a world. It's different ways to say it, different depending on what you're doing. If you have never had a sadness in your life or jubilation in your life, or ecstasy in your life, or depression in your life, or all of the emotions, it's very hard for you to relay that with your vocals.
Yeah.
So when you've been through a lot of stuff, you can actually live it. So a man can say to you, oh, this is a really sad story about a duck dying, which sounds ridiculous, but it's a sad story. And I want you to bring the comedy element out, and I want you to bring out the sadness. But here's the line, in a world. Oh, you say, in a world. Well, you can't do it too deep, too nasty. In a world. That doesn't fit.
Yeah.
So you just naturally, you know.
You're getting some direction as well, of course.
So they just say to you, it's a movie's two gentlemen, two ladies, you bring that softness out. Or it could be something really ridiculous, and you're in there. But I have the ability. My voice broke when I was 14 years old, coming down the stairs. You're like, good morning, Mom. I didn't have a clue. And then I didn't realize that my voice was something special until my sisters started asking me to tell their boyfriends not to call again. And then I realized I can earn something out of this. Are you going to give me all your greens? Yeah. Well, and they used to give me their greens off the plate.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you for a funny story, but I'm going to tell you one first of all. And this is when I first met you here, because the reason how I got to know you is because you and I like working at the weekends because it's nice and quiet and you do your radio show, and we always bump into each other at our business here. And by now, I guess many people are recognizing you as the guy in the red suit sitting on the plane on the Virgin advert, as well, of course, jangling the old thing. And so I went home and I said, you know that guy to my wife, you know that guy on the advert, the red suit, blah, blah, blah. He works in my office. She said, no, that's RuPaul, she said. Well, mate, don't hit me, is the first thing I'd say there. She said, I said, no, he works in my office. She said, he doesn't work in your office. Like, what? You're mad. And then, of course, you know, I said to you, and then we did a little video for the wife and that. But sure, I mean, you're doing a lot of TV work as well. I've seen you on quiz shows and that. So come on, give me a funny story about the old celebrity world. I mean, it's a crazy existence, isn't it, really?
I can tell you, I'm not necessarily funny, but I can tell you an eye-opener for me was when I met quite a few of the celebrities, which I always held in high esteem, I found that 50% of them were as I expected. And a hell of a lot of them just like, oh my God, you disgust me. Mm-hmm. Some of them are so far up their own jacksie, it's unbelievable. And you would never believe it. And somebody say, no, you can't speak ill of that person. No way, I won't have it. And some of them are
They're just people.
Yeah.
Right? Playing a part.
And some, as far as I'm concerned, if 1,000 people stop me between here and 2 miles up the road, it wouldn't bother me. Hello, even if I put my arm up 1,000 times. Hello, thank you, no problem. Selfie, no problem. People say you'll get tired of that if you were really, really, really famous, possibly, but I doubt it because the celebrity status comes at a price. It comes because those people put you there.
Yeah.
And when you were scratching and your behind was dragging on the floor, and then you all of a sudden was raised up. It was those people who loved you up, and now you're hiding behind your black glasses and whatever. Don't talk to me. I just think it's an insult.
I always remember a line out of Dreams, the Fleetwood Mac song, "Players only love you when they're playing."
Yeah,
you know?
There you go.
Which is, to me, has always been resonant.
Yeah, that's a great album. That is. Yeah, great album.
We're going to talk about your music in a minute, but I just want to maybe ask you just a little bit of behind-the-scenes story. Do you remember you told me the story about when you were doing that Virgin advert, about how many takes it took because of somebody else's perception of what they thought was going on, but clearly wasn't? You remember that? Maybe you were just want to recount that.
You can't tell everybody that, but it's the truth. Well, I was all I had to do on this Virgin Atlantic advert was sit in the plane. I got my paper. I'm looking at it. I'm supposed to be an executive customer. I'm very familiar with the staff. They've met me on umpteen occasions, and I'm supposed to. I got my arm up here, and I just give the lady a glance. give her a smile, nod back, and I jangle my bangles. And the reason they wanted me to jangle my bangles was because of the line in the song. And I look up.
This is the cabin crew lady is walking past.
The cabin crew lady walks past, and I make eye contact with her, and that's all I got to do. All the camera crew are there. These guys on the floor getting the right angles for the lighting and all the rest of it. You know how it works. And they said, okay, cut. Okay, take it again, please, Red. So, okay. So I do my thing. I set myself up. And action, silent, action. So I just do that again. And I'm good. Okay, cut. Okay, can we take it again? And we went through that process 9, 10 times. And I'm thinking, what the hell are they wanting? I'm doing the same thing every time. Come on, surely they must have got it. They're not adjusting cameras. They're not adjusting lighting. They're not adjusting movements or nothing. They're not fluffing me up. Nothing's out of place. Everything is good. I'm thinking, what the hell? I says, what's the problem? Who's at fault here? I said, you, Red. So I'm thinking, well, what have I done? Well, we wanted you to correct it without us telling you, but we're running out of daylight. And I says, what's up? Okay, we don't know how to put this to you, but will you stop looking at her ass? And I said, I ain't looking at her ass. And to a man, about 40 people all said, yes, you are. And I'm thinking, oh, man, really? Shut up. So I'm probably, you give the once over. It's kind of, how you do. And the eyes, on camera work, they capture every little detail.
Yeah.
They can catch your fingernails, they capture everything in detail. So my eye may be probably, what's up? And they caught my eye drop. And they said, no, you've got to be so PC in adverts, you can't be seen because somebody will complain. And I says, but I didn't even do it. Yes, you did. So next take, it was like, well, no, that was funny. So that
you earned your money that day.
That small little piece, I
want to ask you about really what's brought you one of the most, some of the biggest joy in your life, really. Whether it's it could be family related, could be work related. What's really something different,
All right, you want something different, which is not what you're expecting. My greatest achievement is forgiving, being able to forgive.
Really,
right. When I was younger. It's not about money, or it's not about what I've achieved personally and material nonsense, because that all goes. But my greatest thing internally, which has helped me become me, was being able to forgive my mother, because my mother was a piece of work. It's out there. My mother was one of the finest nurses in the country. She was awarded best psychiatric nurse in the country, blah, blah, blah. She had all the stars and, fanfare. Yeah, she was great, but she didn't treat me right. And I knew deep down that I was holding on to something from my past, because my toes, I got a size 13 feet, but for years and years, my toes were like that. They weren't flat out. They were like that. They were tensed. All my toes were curled up. And I used to bite my nails down to the quick, and I used to this, and I used to that. And as I grew up, it was because of all the pressure my mother put me through. My mother made me drink my own urine. Seriously. What? Yeah. That kind of madness. She put me through mental torture because her and my father was not seeing eye to eye, whatever. And I learned to forgive because I held on to it for a long time. And I forgave. And I think when I forgave my mother, I said, you know what? The past is the past. I'm a grown man now. Love to you.
Well, that's a tremendous gift to give, that gift of forgiving. Are you a religious man?
No, not, well, yeah, I believe we got the higher being. It's not a man, it's not a woman, it's a spirit. Yeah. I believe in spirits. We have the ability to sense. We can sense stuff, and that's a beautiful thing that we tend to forget. You can sense when someone's walking behind you. You can sense these things, and there's spirits everywhere. But that's what I believe. I don't believe in, the Jesus Christ and this, that, and the other. I'm not into all of that. But I believe in self-preservation. I believe in love and appreciating other people and doing unto others as you would want them done unto you. I'm just very, very humble and grounded. Trust me, I am.
Do you know that's one of the biggest, that's my mantra, is really treat everybody as if that's how you want to be treated yourself. And I think if people adopt that philosophy, then they're not going to go too wrong in life.
No.
What I just want to sort of finish up really a couple of things by talking about your other interest, your music, which I know is a great passion
Oh,
for
yeah.
you.
Oh, yeah.
So just tell us a little about that. You do a radio show. Let's give it an absolutely overt plug, because I've got to say it's worth listening to.
I do a radio show every Saturday between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. UK time called The Solar Coaster. The Solar Coaster. Don't forget that.
On what station?
On Jazz Funk Soul Radio, jfsr.co, jfsr.co, Jazz Funk Soul Radio. We play jazz and funk and soul and music, all kind of grooves from the 70s upwards. I got music, takes me way back to the 30s, but I'm a music man. I got 164,000 records. I'm a passionate music fan, and I'm one of those guys. I'll tell you what side it was on, how many tracks was on there, who was in the background playing the bass. Or I'm one of those kind of anoraks, and I just enjoy what I do. Always have, and I'll never ever stop loving music. It's as simple as that. I've spent so much money. I've wasted a lot of money. Gave away some great albums. Got myself in trouble. Had to walk the street to get home because I spent too much money on an album. I walked from central London to Lewisham because I needed to get that album by Jimmy McGriff called Tail Gunner back in the 70s, and I had no money, just enough to buy it. American import. I couldn't eat, but I had the album. That's how I am.
And you listened to the whole album all the way through, right? Yeah,
and I'll still play it.
And that's the great thing about your radio station. I love music as well. I'm a massive music fan. I always have been all my life. But one of the great things about your radio station is that the stuff that you play is, I mean, you're not playing the chart stuff and that.
No.
You're playing stuff that, first of all, you're listening to and you're thinking, you know what? I've heard that in a film somewhere.
Yeah.
And I recognize that track. But it's something that you've just taken for granted and you've heard over the years. You can't put a name to it, and then you do on the radio station. But also, you invite people to call in and share their memories and share their tracks, and you play their tracks, which is great. And I've got to say, I will give another plug for it. It's a fantastic, again, what's the name of the radio station? And
Jazz Funk Soul Radio. That's JFSR.
The Solar Coaster. Let's just maybe finish up by saying this has been really great, Red. I've loved speaking to you today. What is it, if you could give any advice to anybody, any kid, any colour, any culture growing up now in the UK? It could be anywhere, but let's talk about the UK. We both live and work in the UK. You know, as you say, you've done something where you wanted to get something you couldn't even eat as a result of buying it. Yeah. You've had that situation growing up with your parents or your parent. And you've worked hard. You know, clearly you've worked hard. You brought your family up, and now you're enjoying life. And I know you enjoy life. And you don't take things too seriously, but you're a very professional man.
Very.
What advice would you give any kid that are growing up, that are coming into a career, or just any advice around work and succeeding in life?
I say believe in what you're doing, and then it's no longer work. If you believe in what you're doing, the end goal is there. It's no longer work. You probably see me every single day come through here, and you'll never believe that I've got some professional gigs going on. I take life easily. And we have to understand one thing. What you put in is what you get out. What you put in is what you get out. And especially when it comes to business, there is no emotion attached to business. It's business. It's simple business as far as I'm concerned. If you want to succeed, you set yourself a goal. You don't put that bar too high. If you know you can't reach, what you going to do? You going to wait for something to fall down? No. Or you're going to find a way to get up there. That's how I see it. There's too much involved in giving a simple answer, because it starts with you. It starts from within you. You got to understand that everything that we go through leads to something else, and we tend to choose on the wrong things to focus on. For instance, you got on a shirt right now, but you can't feel that shirt on your back. Until now, you're thinking about it. Yeah, you can. But we focus on the negatives. We focus on what we can't do. We focus on, how many times have you heard, yeah, but. You can do this, blah, blah. Yeah, but. And you started off on the negative rather than, how can I? Let's do this. Okay, let's work on it. The positive way of looking at things. That's how I am. I can't do the yeah, but. I don't wait for anything. Don't wait for anything. Get it done. Get it done. Get it done. If you can't get it done, fall down, get back up, keep on, keep on, keep on. Don't ever stop if you believe in something. That's how I see it.
That's great advice. And I think the thing is, lots of kids will feel that, again, it comes with this almost having things now or tomorrow, is that, if you persevere, luck will prevail. There'll be an opportunity to create itself. So if you get knocked down, you get up, it makes you stronger,
Exactly.
And you're always going to have disappointment in your life. At some stage, it doesn't matter how old you are, you're going to face disappointment. But if you don't get up and just use that experience to make you stronger, then you're not going to succeed.
Exactly.
Now look, people have probably been wondering what this set is here, and you know me. When I see you from time to time, I like to do a little magic trick.
I always like to observe you. That's why I said make sure you do a card trick as well.
Let's finish on this. So, I'm a member of the Magic Circle. I'm going to do a little trick for you today. Now,
man, it's voodoo. I'm telling you, he's not right.
Now, look, you can see here, I've got a pack of cards, and they consist of cards from different packs that I've collected over the years, all sorts of beautiful backs, you can see it, all completely different. Now, I'm not a gambling man anymore. I've had my fair share of losing, but if I used to play my favourite game in a casino, it would be blackjack.
Yeah.
Now, I always found that the strongest hand that I had was normally about 18. That gave me a good chance. And what we're going to do today, using these cards, we're going to see if we can find what would be perhaps your strongest hand.
You always get me, man. Go
So, what I'm going to do, you can see that all these backs are just complete beautiful cards.
Yeah, I'm watching you, man. I'm watching.
All right, okay. So I'm going to, look, this is easy. You're in control. I'm just going to ask you to tell me when to stop at any stage when you see a card that you like, anytime you want.
You're right there.
Right there?
Yeah, I'm watching.
Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to mark that spot, right? We're going to put the pack on the top, and we're going to do it again with a 7.
Yeah, that'll do. This one here.
This one here? Oh, this one?
Yeah. I like that.
So somewhere you've marked 2 places.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's take the card next to it. So you've marked the place where you think you're going to get the strongest hand with those 2 cards. Let's just scroll all the way through there. I think that's at the end there. So we've got those. Now, Red, I said that we shared a lot in common. We have close birthdays. We're a similar age. And let's see what you chose. Man, that is a coincidence. You chose a 7 and an ace, the same hand as me. But look, what's even stranger is that those 2 cards even match, which is spooky. You could have put those cards in anywhere in the deck, right? But you're probably going to say to me, what?
If you see this man in the street, walk away.
But you're going to say to me, look, well, they're just aces and 7s in that deck, yeah? Bear in mind, you could have put those cards anywhere where you wanted. But in fact, Red, they were all queens.
They move. Oh, man. No, you're dangerous. This man ain't right.
It's been a pleasure. Red Pepper, ladies and gentlemen.
How the hell did you do that? God damn.